Hello, I'm Janusz Lewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. Welcome to Russian Propaganda Vocabulary 101. Today we examine the goodwill gesture. Now, in Russia, goodwill gesture tends to mean one of two things. The first is pure copium, as in, we took the L but pretend we simply let it go out of kindness. Russia abandoning Snake Island in the early months of the war with Ukraine is a good example of that. Now, the second is simply obfuscating reality into oblivion, when the truth is just too inconvenient and Moscow wants you to look elsewhere. Case in point, the energy sector ceasefire.
Об обстреле энергетических объектов. Все, что нужно было уничтожить, там уничтожено. И в чисто электрической части, и в газовой части, вот, и в нефтяной части. Так что, в принципе, мы 30 дней можем подождать. За 30 дней в этой части они ничего не восстановят. Посмотрим, что произойдет за эти 30 дней, а Дональду приятно. Он может как бы сообщить.
See what he did there? He insists the Kremlin has no need to destroy anything else. They've already reached all their goals. Job done. By the way, he admitted Moscow did all this, which is interesting because they often pretended those Ukrainian power lines and river dams suffered spontaneous combustion or something like that. But let's focus instead on what Moscow doesn't want us to know. They say they can wait it out for 30 days. But can they? Thing is, it's not about Russia attacking. They already broke the ceasefire anyway, with attacks on energy infrastructure in Sloviansk yesterday. But no, it's about Russia being attacked. You see, right before the limited ceasefire proposal, a Russian refinery in the Russian Black Sea port city of Tuapse caught fire.
На трубку, обозначенную подсветкой зеленого цвета. Мы прибываем на станцию Tuapse.
We are arriving at...
Now this was no mere instance of a thrown cigarette butt or a drunken maintenance worker with a blowtorch. No, the real cause was a Ukrainian cruise missile called the Neptune. But wait, I hear you say, wasn't the Neptune's range limited to like 300 kilometers? Well, yes, it was. But according to Ukrainian authorities, the Neptune's been working out at the gym and now can travel for a sweet 1,000 kilometers before the inevitable fiery conclusion. This, in other words, is Neptune reloaded. Cause and effect, my love. And guess what? Days after the successful battlefield test of this cruise missile, Russia develops the sudden urge to stop attacks against energy infrastructure. Curious. Let's round it up with a quote. In essence, Putin has quietly confirmed to Trump how much our deep strikes are hurting the Russian energy sector. This is our Trump card. These are the words of Ukrainian MP Roman Lozinski on Tuesday, and I suppose that he might have cheekily left the pun intact on purpose there. By the way, remember how Trump had said that Ukraine had no cards? Well, check this out.
Это нихуя. Там что-то ёбнуло пиздец. Вот это нихуя. Там пизда, Наташ. Лёдку разъебали. Блять, выйди, посмотри, блять.
Лёд просто и всё. И пизда. Ебать.
Пиздец, нахуй. Чё
Хотели туда и попасть.
сдетонировал. Всю ночь туда хуярили, пидоры. Охуеть.
You gotta love these Russian explosion reaction videos. The target this time was the Engels airbase. This is where Russia parks its strategic bombers, some of which are apparently irreplaceable. Now, something tells me another goodwill gesture might be heading our way. Full cessation of long-range missile and drone strikes. Oh my, you're just too kind. Comrade Tsar Putin, in his boundless wisdom, has graciously taken it upon himself to enlighten President Trump on the realities of global politics. You see, forget about ceasefires or peace processes, those are for the weak, the naive, the non-imperial. Russia doesn't do half measures. What Russia truly desires is nothing less than a new Yalta.
И сегодня мы это видим. Дональд Трамп искренне хочет, чтобы наступил мир, но наш президент разъяснил ему, что это сложный процесс. И да, мы сегодня идем к новой Ялте, об этом они сами рассуждают, но в этой Ялте не будет ни Европы, ни Великобритании, потому что нет в Великобритании Черчилля и нет в Европе де Голля. Никого там сейчас нет. Одна там это, Каллас, недоделанная. Поэтому им не на что рассчитывать. И ничего у них не получится. Все будет определено в договоренности между президентом России и президентом Соединенных Штатов. Почему? Да потому что эти державы, плюс Китайская Народная Республика, обладают реальным весом на международной арене. И они обладают реальными возможностями эту международную арену изменять.
Should we remind the guy that France and the UK actually have nuclear weapons now? All right, let him live the fantasy. The fantasy of the golden days of 1945, when Stalin, Churchill and Roosevelt sat at a table and casually carved Europe up like a birthday cake. Back then, the world made sense. The strong dictated terms, and the weak accepted them. Now, Putin dreams of his own grand division of the planet. A neat little agreement where he gets his beloved Eurasia, China gets all of East Asia, and the US, well, surely they will be happy ruling over Oceania. Does this sound familiar? It should. George Orwell predicted exactly this kind of world in his book 1984. Now, back then it was considered dystopian fiction. Today, it's apparently a Kremlin political paper. One can only imagine the brainstorming sessions at the Ministry of Truth, the Russian Foreign Ministry, where Putin's advisors discuss how to best convince the world that war is peace, freedom is slavery, and Russia is a peace-loving democracy. And of course, let's not forget the role of Trump in all this. If the Kremlin's talking heads are to be believed, his job isn't to be a leader, but a useful chaos generator. Someone to stir up enough disorder in the West that Russia can waltz in and establish its new world order. A world where Moscow once again gets to decide who's independent and who's not, whose borders are real and whose are just, suggestions. But hey, why stop at 1945? If we're rewriting history, let's go further. Perhaps Putin's next decree will be that the Soviet Union never actually collapsed. That way, he can legally lay claim to Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Georgia, Moldova, and beyond. Convenient, isn't it? Maybe, just maybe, one day Kremlin propagandists will go even further back, declaring that the Mongol Empire never really ended either. After all, if we're bringing back old borders, why not go all the way? Just be careful not to end up in 1610. History aficionados will know what I mean. Anyway, the world watches as Putin spins his web of imperial nostalgia while his court jesters, Solovyov, Simonian and the rest, preach the gospel of Russian supremacy on state TV. The message is simple. Diplomacy is for the weak. Peace is a trap. And anyone who stands in Russia's way is the enemy. In the meantime, George Orwell's 1984 will probably be flying off the shelves in Europe, not as fiction, but as a survival guide. And with this, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.